Hot Mic is brought to you by Red Wing Shoes of Fargo. Built to last. 3003 Main Avenue, Fargo.
Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo. Dom Izzo.
Good morning, everybody. What happens when you're on live TV and the selection show unfolds? What happens? Yeah, that happened yesterday, live on our air. That was great. It was
Coached by one Tom Izzo.
about 5:04 yesterday afternoon. North Dakota State finds out that the Bison are playing Michigan State. It's fun to hear myself talk over myself. That's a dream scenario for myself. But yeah, that was live yesterday up at the Shields Center. We haven't seen it in 7 years' time, and it was a lot of fun to be there and capture it live as we were on the air, even better. And with that, we say good morning and welcome everybody to Hot Mic on a Monday morning, the 16th day of March 2026. Great to be with everybody after a busy, and I mean busy with a capital B weekend. First, before we do anything, it's great to have our guy back. Eric Bedell's back off of Death's Door. You were here last Monday, and I believe you sounded like this. I'm okay. How do you sound today?
Hopefully better than that. I mean,
Well, you sounded pretty bad last week. The fact that Matt is still alive is impressive because you were breathing all over him. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I had a battle with pneumonia. So,
Holy cow.
and of course, I get it in that most uncommon spot. So yeah, it was not. I was on death's door on Tuesday and Wednesday. What it felt like.
You're doing better though?
Yeah, I'm
Awesome.
better.
Great to have you back.
Watched
bud.
a lot of college basketball.
Well,
So I got ready for my perfect bracket.
well, I'm glad
That's
that
never
you're.
gonna happen.
I'm glad you're feeling back. So good to have you back, and especially after I heard last week. Stand by. So I'm glad you're doing all right. It's great to be back. First off, I want to thank everybody for the birthday wishes on Friday. It was a great day, especially over at Concordia. I was not expecting to be serenaded as we were at about in between games on Friday night over at Memorial Auditorium. That was fantastic, and it was a good weekend. And back in the saddle, and as you saw there yesterday on Selection Sunday, that was pretty darn neat. And I'll tell you, I've covered, I don't know, now 5 of them, because we didn't do one in 2020 with COVID wiped out the NCAA tournament. That first one will never be surpassed when we did it at the old BSA, when the Bison up on the old video board find out they're going to play Kansas. But this is the second time that this has happened where there's been no drama. This was over. Literally, our news was on early yesterday because of the Academy Awards, so we moved up to 5 o'clock. And I asked to be up early in the show just because, hey, you know, I don't know when this is going to happen, but we can set things up. And CBS, to their credit, CBS, I think, started revealing brackets about 30 seconds after. There was no hesitation. So they revealed the number 1 seeds, and I hit at about 5:03. And they had already gone through Duke's quadrant, and then, bam, the Bison came up, much like 2019. Now, that was a little different because we knew the Bison were going to be a 16 seed that year. So as soon as like Duke got announced, then they put the first 4 up, and then there it was with NDSU playing in the first 4 against North Carolina A&T back in 2019. You see there, that's the bracket that the Bison are in, heading to 1 Buffalo, New York. The reaction, though, yesterday, and I'll say if there wasn't a huge crowd that was at the Shack, but that was pretty darn cool for the people that were there. And I'll say this, for the team that got to experience it yesterday, and you saw it a little bit there, and we have some more video to show, just that was the moment that they have been waiting for. Like last Sunday night was one thing, to win the Summit League tournament, to cut the nets down, to get the automatic bid. Now they've had to sit for a week, which, talking with a few of the players yesterday, said this is been unnatural, frankly. They practiced a little bit, but this is the longest they've had to go without playing basketball. And then of all teams, it ends up being Michigan State, led by Tom Izzo, out of the Big Ten, perennial. I mean, we're talking blue bloods here, folks. I know McFeely wrote about it yesterday for the Forum. When you think of the absolute bluest of bloods programs in men's college basketball, right? It goes North Carolina, Kansas, Kentucky, UCLA. Michigan State is probably right there. You could see on the board yesterday when the Spartans showed up. Just got a big chuckle out of that, and everybody was taking photos, and it was a big deal. The game will be slated for 3:05 Thursday afternoon in Buffalo, New York. I'll give you the full details on that. I know this arena well. It's the home of the Buffalo Sabres of the National Hockey League. So 14 is a little surprise. You're going to hear from David Richmond here in a second. We talked about the bracketology leading into this, and I went full tilt in. From Thursday on, I couldn't help myself. We did it on Friday's show, especially when we saw some of the seeds lose, like Sam Houston, who the Bison needed to lose. They lost. Yale got beat by Penn, which for all intents and purposes, we thought then, okay, the Bison may be bumped up to a 13 seed because Yale's net was higher, and that was one that be hard for the Bison to be seated below them. As it turns out, Hawaii grabbed a 13 seed. Congrats to our future friends, the Rainbow Warriors, won their league in the Big West. They're moving as we know, to the Mountain West next season. Cal Baptist won the final WAC championship. The Lancers are going to the tournament for the first time. They're a 13 seed. The other two 13s that got in was Troy. They end up playing Nebraska. We thought that was going to be the matchup, that the Bison were going to be matched up with the Huskers, potentially in Oklahoma City. It ends up being Troy that gets that seed. Then Hofstra, the Pride, out of the CAA, they get Alabama. That was the other. We had heard it was either going to be Nebraska or Alabama, which has tremendous Bison ties to both those schools. NDSU's seen Andrew Morgan, Sam Griesel go to Nebraska. Obviously, Grant Nelson played at Alabama, so you had some connections there. But it ends up being Michigan State, of all teams, and one Tom Izzo. The Spartans, we'll get to their full debrief here in a second. But we've got some sound I got yesterday. You're going to hear from Damari Wheeler-Thomas, Noah Federson, and first Dave Richmond. This is pretty much immediately after the bracket was revealed yesterday.
A little melodramatic, right? It's just right out of the gates, and, it's over. But obviously, you heard Bruce Pearl talk about it. Anytime you can hear your school announce, it's emotional, goosebumps, and really cool to have some people here celebrating with us. And obviously, at the very end of the day, extremely happy for our guys.
Initial thoughts, it's Michigan State.
They were, we were going to be a 13 or a 14. We knew we were going to play a really good team. Michigan State, Tom Izzo, just the utmost respect to their physicality. Growing up in this area, I've always been a Big Ten guy. And so if you're a Big Ten guy, you understand the physical brand of basketball, the rebounding that is Michigan State and Tom Izzo. I'll tell you this, though, we're going to be excited. Yep.
Now it's Thursday. It's quick turnaround here, so give us the next, 48 hours?
Yeah, some of that still as we do this. We don't know. We'll hope, I'm assuming practice tomorrow before we move, and it's always been my understanding that it's 2 days prior that we'll move. I know there's been some charter things happening too, so we'll stay in the moment and control what we can control.
Any thought of being a 14 instead of a 13?
Doesn't matter. Yeah, at the end of the day, it can matter. But I told the group before, no matter where we go, who we're playing, what seed we are, we're excited. And at this point, it's all water under the bridge. We're not going to be able to control any of those things.
Have you been looking at the bracketology as much as Dom Izzo has been?
No, I haven't. And if I had a quarter for every time I've been asked, who you playing, where you going, what you speculating.
Experience tie anything going this week?
No, I think the experience still goes back to the Summit League prep, where it's how do we find ways for us to get better and making adjustments according to what Michigan State's going to throw at us.
Describe again, just band back. When you actually are on the floor, it's the first time in 7 years playing an NCAA tournament game. What that is going to be like this week.
Well, it's it. I mean, this is the pinnacle of our profession, and this is March Madness, and you can just feel from a lot of people, besides the Super Bowl, from a numbers standpoint, there's so many eyes on this event, and I love it. I love it for our program, our department, our state, our university. It just takes North Dakota and puts it on a national stage.
Just tell me, seeing NDSU's name up there, what was that moment like?
Oh, definitely exciting. We haven't played in like a week, and seeing our name drawn up there was really good.
All right, so I know it's been all of like 20 minutes, but it's Michigan State. It goes without saying. What's going through your mind about matching up with a Big Ten team?
Definitely exciting for the opportunity, you know what I mean? And we're just going to keep on doing what we do and show up in New York ready to go.
This moment to get back with everybody, describe that of sitting down, and you and I were just visiting. You ever done anything like this before? What was that like, even though it was all of 5 minutes?
Yeah, it was definitely crazy. We had a nice little turnout here, too, so obviously, thank you to everybody that showed up. But it was nice. It was really nice, even though it was 30 seconds, like you said. Yeah.
Seeing your name up there and then hearing Clark Kellogg talk about NDSU, does that make what you've gone through the last 4 years worth it here?
Oh, of course, especially when we had those conversations, for us to come back for this to happen, you know what I mean? And we did everything we wanted to do, and we got more to do.
What's this last week been like? I was visiting with Travion. It's been a little obviously been used to playing like every other day. What's been the last 7 days been like?
Yeah, a little different, a lot of shots and recovery. We don't want to, have our bodies messed up as we're still going, but yeah, that's all it's been.
Just, have you thought yet, being out in the NCAA tournament and just playing it, have you let your mind go there yet?
No, it hasn't even went there, but it will. It will, though, but it's a crazy opportunity, obviously. Yep.
You're from Big Ten country, so you know about Michigan State and Tom Izzo, so what do you think about that?
Definitely.
A team like North Dakota State's always probably going to play a blue blood.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, I thought we were going to get the 13, but us getting the 14, us going against them, obviously it's a great opportunity. Izzo's a great coach. Everybody knows that and stuff like that, but it'd be fun to go out there and play.
So you were like Dom? Were you following that stuff? Mr.
Oh, I seen. Yeah, I did see your post. Were
you following that?
A little bit. A little bit. I was interested to see what was going on, but obviously it don't matter who we play. We're going to do us regardless.
It lasted all of about 30 seconds, but what was it like to actually see NDSU's name up there?
It was super fun, super excited. It's everything you work for to see your name up there, and really excited to get out there and play this game.
You're a Wisconsin guy. You know all about Michigan State. So what goes through your mind now? You're going to be playing the Spartans.
Yeah, it's definitely really cool. Watched a lot of Wisconsin versus Michigan State games growing up, so it'd be fun to play against a team and a coach that watched growing up.
Big Ten basketball, you also grow up with that. You know how physical it is. I know it's really fresh, but what are your thoughts on playing a Big Ten team?
Yeah, we're going to have to come ready for that style of play. They play really physical like any big team would, so being ready with that mindset and being ready to play physical.
I was asking Damari this. Were you following it this week? Did you see, or did you not care?
A little bit, just following what seed we would get, just because we were in between that 13 and 14 I was seeing, and it was a really long week, waiting to see who we would play, but definitely excited to see now and ready to go to work tomorrow.
For one of those warm weather spots, or didn't matter?
I don't think it mattered too much. Yeah.
To be here with the guys, see the crowd here today. What did that mean to, you and I've talked for the last 4 years. It's got to be the ultimate payoff here.
Yeah, like you said, the last 4 years been working for this. All the teammates that I've been able to play with, it's been super fun. All the work that we've put in is for moments like this, and just our fans who have supported us all year long. Really appreciative of them, and really excited.
Let your mind go there that I'm going to be playing in the NCAA tournament on Thursday?
Not really, to be honest. Just trying to stay present at practice and get ready for this game. But I'm sure there will be a couple moments like that throughout the week.
So there's some reaction right after from the selection show watch party, which was a ton of fun up at the Shack yesterday. So now let's do a little deep dive on lovely Buffalo, New York. Here's a couple things to know. First, the worlds are colliding here. The grammar police are colliding, as I had a few of my buddies text me yesterday. The AAA baseball team that resides in Buffalo are the Bisons. They used to be the AAA affiliate of the New York Mets. They are now the Toronto Blue Jays AAA affiliate. But they play literally, for those that are going to make the jaunt to Buffalo, down the street from KeyBank Arena, which is the home of the Buffalo Sabres. So you've got that tie-in right there. And I think our guy Wes Offerman, NDSU Sports Information Director, already put out the different logos. Obviously, the Bills, the Sabres have the Buffalo or Bison in it. Now, It's been a little bit since I've been to downtown Buffalo. I went there quite a bit my college days. The Sabres were the thing. For those that are hockey-oriented, when Dominik Hasek was the best goaltender in the world in 98, 99, 2000, 2001, the Sabres were unbelievable. They made the Stanley Cup final, did Buffalo, in 1998. 99, sorry. They lost to the Dallas Stars in still a controversial goal that shouldn't have been allowed in triple overtime. Anyway, they have totally refurbished down by the water. The Buffalo River is right down by where the arena is. Google Maps may not do this justice, but for those that are going to go, the arena, you can see that's right where it's right by the water. The highway is there as well. Buffalo is it looks like a Midwestern city. It actually really does. Now, down by the water, looking at the weather, it doesn't look like it's going to be, it might be Fargo-esque. I know people are disappointed that I go to San Diego or Tampa, which are the other regional sites, Portland even, because the Bison have seemed always to go to the Pacific Northwest. Now they're going east. That's where the arena's at. There's plenty of parking if you're driving or renting a car. There's plenty of things to do. The Harbor Center, which is just north of the arena, is really neat. There's a bunch of shops and restaurants and all that. That's brand new. That was not there for all the times that I was going to games in that part of the world. It is a hockey arena that we reconfigured. If you dare ask, South Dakota State fans will know the Jackrabbits played there when they played Providence back in 2022 was the last time they hosted. So that's where the Bison men will be heading. More on Michigan State. We'll do that later on in the show. As for the Bison women, they are playing, but it's not in the NCAA tournament. The North Dakota State women, with a mark of 28-4, found out at, what I want to say, 7:40 when the brackets were done, that they were not in it. In fact, the Bison were one of the first 4 teams out of the NCAA tournament, which is going to be hard to swallow, I think, from fans of this program. Others, I think, maybe were, I don't know if realistic is the right word, but certainly understood that it was a long shot for there to get in. This was the graphic that came up yesterday. They, along with BYU, Utah, and Texas A&M, were the first 4 teams left out of the NCAA women's basketball tournament. And we can dive into this more when Jory Collins joins us later in the week on the scheduling and all of that, on how this went down. Because South Dakota State ended up getting an 11 seed in the tournament. I will say this before we show you what the Bison women have in front of them. If North Dakota State beats South Dakota State, and I said it leading up to that game in Fargo, had they won that game, I think they would have been in. Even losing the Summit League Championship, they couldn't lose twice. Obviously, if they won the championship game, wouldn't have mattered. They would have been in. I think the Jackrabbits would have got some serious steam for them to get in. But losing that game here did them in. As it is, they are heading to the Women's Basketball Invitation Tournament. That is now the second level. For those that have gotten used to the WNIT, that is not that. This is the next step up. And since the Bison are one of the first 4 teams out, they are automatically a number 1 seed in this event. And so that means they'll host on Thursday. Thursday is going to be, I'm going to say it right now, might be the busiest sports day we've ever had here locally. I'm just going to say, when I actually tell you we have everything going on Thursday, you're going to have to tell me a busier day we've had. So the Bison men will play in the afternoon. The Bison women, we don't know yet when this game is. May come out when we're on the air, but we know it's going to be Thursday at the Shield Center against Chattanooga out of the SoCon. If the Bison win that game, they'll be home again and play the winner of St. John's and Columbia. 2 New York teams coming all the way out to Fargo. The fact that there's this much New York Fargo connections this week is blowing my mind. And if they win that, the Bison would still host against the winners of the bottom half of that bracket. There are 32 teams in this event, made up of a lot of Power Fours. You see on there Georgia Tech, Kansas State, Utah, Oregon State, Wisconsin, Miami. That's the level of competition. This is a good tournament, folks. It's higher than the WNIT. Obviously, the Troy is in this event. Troy, who made it all the way to the WNIT finals last year for losing to Buffalo, they're in this tournament. So this is the next step up, but they are still playing. And we'll devote some more time to that coming up later in this show and later in the week on the Bison women. So it is not the NCAAs. I think there was some realization probably middle of the week that this wasn't going to happen, seeing how the tournaments were shaking out. And then when you saw the bracketology on it, the Bison were consistently in the first 4 out. And that was indicative of what the selection committee ended up doing. You can't put it in their hands. You got to win. You got to win that game at the Shack. As it is now, they've got more opportunities to play here. We'll see what happens coming up on Thursday. Last thing, non-basketball related before we set up the show. It sucked me in. I talked about it on Friday with the World Baseball Classic where the Italians bailed out the United States. The Italians beat Mexico last week. That allowed the United States into the quarterfinals. They won that game on Friday to stay alive. So last night they're playing in the semifinals against the Dominican Republic, who had just torn through teams. The Dominicans have Juan Soto. They've got everybody that you would think of are playing on the Dominican roster. The game is in Miami, so basically it's a road game. But the United States was throwing Paul Skeens last night. Junior Caminero, if you don't know him, he plays for the Tampa Bay Rays, and he's really good. Bottom of the second inning, hammers this one off Paul Skeens, the 2-time Cy Young winner for the Pirates. It's 1-0. Gunnar Henderson, who plays for the Baltimore Orioles, in the top of the 4th, ties the game at 1 with a home run. Later, it's Roman Anthony. You're going to get to know him from the Boston Red Sox this year. This is hammered to right center for a home run. United States takes a 2-1 lead in the 4th inning. Aaron Judge is up in the 5th. Thinks he's got all of this one. That's a great catch. Julio Rodriguez of the Mariners goes up and robs a home run. I mean, honestly, folks, I know it's March Madness, but if you're not into this and you're somewhat of a baseball fan, I don't know what you're doing. Bednar was great out of the bullpen. Gets a big strikeout there. My guy Juan Soto. Looking there, I don't know if that was a strike or not. They don't have the ABS system for some reason in this tournament. Bottom of the 9th, Mason Miller in from the Padres gets the final out on, again, a controversial strikeout call. The United States will play in the WBC final. They beat the Dominican Republic 2-1 last night in a fun game in Miami. So they'll play the winner of the game tonight between Italy. The Italians are still alive against Venezuela. Venezuela beat Japan and Otani's team on Saturday night. If you don't think that place is going to be amped tonight, you got another thing coming. And the final will be tomorrow night in Miami. USA has not won this event since 2017. I will say this before we set up the show. Baseball's got plenty of issues to hammer out. They've got a collective bargaining agreement that's going to expire at the end of the year. But if you saw anything of these few games and the emotion involved in it, make this happen to get the major leaguers in the Olympic Games. And I know it's a shortened tournament. I think there's only 6 teams in it. But if we have anything like this in the Olympics in Los Angeles in a couple years' time, sign me up for that. Our guest lineup is brought to us by Northwestern Mutual. We got a busy Monday show. A couple of our usual guests will be here. Sam Herder dropping some knowledge at 9:35 on the FCS and looking to move out of its date for the FCS title game for obvious reasons. We'll get to Sam coming up at 9:35. Kolpack will be in at 10 o'clock, getting his bags packed for Buffalo. Will get us the lowdown on the Bison basketball teams and their immediate future on a busy Thursday shaping up for North Dakota State basketball. That's at 10. And at 10:35, newly crowned back-to-back state champion head coach Darin Mattern will join us. Century completed a back-to-back mission. We thought when they won here last year, they had everybody back, that they have the chance to do it again, and they did it against their blood rivals in Bismarck on Saturday night. We'll chat with Coach Mattern coming up at 10:35. That, your emails, tweets, and texts, and a heck of a lot more here over the next hour and 40 minutes or so. Let's take our first break. We come back, we'll salute our best of the weekend, including a state champion for the first time. She'll be playing basketball for the Bison in the not-too-distant future. Hot mic, off and rolling. We're back after this. right, we do it each and every Monday. We're late today. We had a lot to get to, but we do our best of the weekend. We'll zip through it today, but that's not to shortchange any of our best of the weekend nominees. We'll start out in Bismarck. 4 years ago, this very week, got to see and introduce a couple of 8th graders to the state in Maggie Fricke and Lily Bell. Minot won the girls' then Class A championship, which was their first title since 1976. Well, in their last high school games on Saturday night, they did it again. Minot beat Fargo-Davies, playing a double-double from Lily Bell with 34 and 12 in her final high school game before she's off to the SEC and Oklahoma. Maggie Fricke, who had missed the last 2 seasons with 2 ACL tears, she's on her way to play at the University of North Dakota, hit 6 threes in the game. Minot beat Davies 72-61. They came in with state championship in 8th grade, and they're going to leave. That was a fabulous play by Bell. When Lynette yells, you know it's pretty darn good. That happened in the game on Saturday night. They came in, as I mentioned, with a state title as 8th graders. They leave with a state title as seniors. Tremendous career for both of them. Bell only trails Maple River's Riley Nudell on the all-time scoring list, and Riley was a fabulous player at Maple River. She finished with 3,458 points. Bell finished with 3,159. And for Fricke, also, it's got to feel awfully satisfying. She had 27 as an 8th grader, and that honestly was the biggest thing. We had her on the show that Monday after, how big a deal that was. Had 25 points, 4 assists, and 3 steals on Saturday night as a senior. We mentioned, and I know Ryan McNamara went through it with the injuries she's dealt with. Just a fabulous way to persevere, and now we'll get to see her in the Summit League starting next year. Another player we'll see in the Summit League, but not for a couple years, at least Jory Collins hopes so, is one Morgan Mathowitz. She plays for Sleepy Eye St. Mary's. And on Saturday afternoon, if you were watching, I was, she put on a clinic in the Class A state championship game at Williams Arena. She went for 27 points against Mountain Iron Buell. This coming off a 31-point performance in the state semifinals on Friday. She is the younger sister of Maddie Mathowitz, who plays at South Dakota State. I think everybody that watches our program certainly knows what Maddie has done for the Jackrabbits, including last Sunday in the Summit League Championship game. Her younger sister, we had Morgan on this summer when she committed, was great on Saturday. Sleepy Eye St. Mary's had never been to a state championship game. The furthest they had ever gotten was the state semifinals. They went a round further this year. Mathowitz was the biggest reason why. She was named to the All-State team after a 27-point performance with plays like that. If you're much like the Lily Bell play, if you're getting plays like this, you're going to be awfully hard to beat, which happened on Saturday. They bring home a first state championship in school history. Congratulations to the Mathowitz family, which has had plenty to celebrate here over the last week. Maddie winning another Summit League championship, her 4th in 4 years. The Jackrabbits are going to the NCAA tournament this week. Morgan's got now a state title to bring home. That's not even something her older sister was able to do. And her older sister, and we talked about this, all-time great player there, but Morgan's got a little bragging rights now with a state title. Congratulations to them. Again, she is verbally committed to North Dakota State. Long way to go on getting that. They still can't make that official till November. As we sit here in mid-March, there might be some other suitors calling. We'll see. It's different in the women's game than is the men's game on that, but we'll see. Last thing, complete shout-out to our friends in Duluth, who they have the hockey with them, obviously, and hockey had a huge win Saturday night in Grand Forks as they beat UND in the NCHC semifinals. But they're a basketball school. If you need a reminder, the Duluth women beat the number 1 team in the country in Mankato on Friday. They're going to play for the Elite Eight tonight. And the Duluth men, the number 8 seed, beat Washburn, the number 1 seed, on their floor on Saturday. And then last night against St. Cloud State in an all-NSIC semifinal, they did it again. They will play for the Elite Eight coming up tomorrow night in Kansas. This is the same spot where the Dragon Men lost last year. Shout out to our guy, Justin Wick. We're going to have him on the show tomorrow. That is a big deal for Duluth. The Duluth women play tonight. That's against Concordia St. Paul. So an all-NSIC final there. The winner of that goes to the Elite Eight. And the Duluth men play tomorrow night. If they win that, they go to the Elite Eight for the second time in 4 years. Congratulations to the Bulldogs. That was some great stuff. That is our best of the weekend. We do it each and every Monday at about 9:20-ish. We'll break. We come back. We'll chat some FCS ball with our guy Sam Herder about maybe the FCS championship moving later in the calendar. It's for a good reason. We'll discuss that and much more when Hot Mike returns after this. Welcome back, everybody. Look at downtown Fargo here. Sun is out, but it's still pretty darn cold for the 16th of March, although we have nothing to complain about since we didn't get hammered with snow as South Dakota did, certainly as the Twin Cities did over the last 36 hours or so, including our first guest on a Monday who's down in the Twin Cities and using his new snowblower to good use. Our guy Sam Herder joins us on a Monday to get us started with some good football chatter. And there is, like I always mention with Sam, there's always something to talk about. I don't care if we're not in football season. There's always stuff to do. First, the snowblower worked well. Everything good on that front?
Yeah, we got the driveway cleared out. It was some thick, heavy snow that came down, and then of course the bottom of the driveway, with the snowplow pushing all the slush up as well. But we powered through yesterday, and now the driveway is all clear.
All right, that's good to know. We got some FCS news to chat about here. Let's first start with a seemingly obvious kind of move that the Oversight Committee met, Sam, and they're petitioning to move next year's championship game, the end of the 26 season for the 27 game, a week later because the NFL schedules a week later this coming year. The title game then would go up against the last Monday Night Football game, and obviously the FCS wants no part of that.
Yeah, right now it's currently scheduled for Monday, January 4th, but like you said, the NCAA and the FCS Oversight Committee is looking to push that to Monday, January 11th, and so they're not running up against the Monday Night Football. That is January 10th is the last week of the NFL regular season, and then there's no Monday Night Football that week, so it just makes sense. I'm not sure if why they had initially scheduled this for January 4th, knowing that, unless the NFL made some changes, I'm not sure there. But, tentatively, they scheduled this for January 4th. Looking at the schedule more closely, they want to push it back. And, we won't know for sure until June whether that gets approved. But it seems like the Oversight Committee approved it, and so they just need, one more approval in the summer for that to happen. There's just a lot of moving parts of that because you have different vendors and the stadium availability and, hotels and all that. So it sounds like it's probably going to happen, but we won't know for sure until June. I know there's already some people booking hotels and flights for the upcoming game, and they might have to move that back a week just because it seems like the game is going to be pushed to January 11th.
And when I'm going to say when it does, I don't think it's an if. When it does, that means it's back to the old 3 weeks between the semifinals and the title game.
Yeah, because it's been 2 weeks the last couple of years, a 2-week break between the semis and the title game. And to me, that's perfect. 2 weeks. You get, kind of a bye in a way, get people away from football for the holidays and all that. 3 weeks just seemed like it lasted way too long. Time. But if it helps with, TV viewership, I think it makes sense. Plus, had it been on January 4th, I think it'd be somewhat fun because it's New Year's Eve as well if you want to go to Nashville on that Thursday or Friday, whatever it would be. But it would also be pretty hectic travel-wise. I'm asking fans to go to a championship game that early on in January. So I do think it makes sense to move it to January 11th, but we just, we won't get that final approval until June, it sounds like.
To me, also, and this goes back to when the title game was square up against the NFL the final Sunday of the year, and it just got squashed. It would, even if it's Monday Night Football, it's still invisible. And here's the thing, Sam, ESPN, the Manning cast may happen again. So where are you going to put the game? If Manning casts on ESPN2, now ESPN and ESPN2 are unavailable to you. That's a no-go for the FCS.
Yeah, there's just there's not going to be any good time slots that January 4th
Right.
weekend. 'Cause I think, too, the NFL plays that Saturday of that weekend potentially. So there's just no good slots. And, yeah, it was for a couple of years. It went up against the NFL on that Sunday. And it was on ABC, which helped, but it was still, like, 1.3 million?
Wasn't great.
And then the last couple of years with a standalone game on ESPN on Monday night, it's been 2.4 million, 2.3 million. So it's a balance of, you want great TV viewership and exposure, but you also want it to be fan friendly. And so I know some fans don't like Monday night just because they have to take a couple of days off for work. But when the game was on a Saturday, folks would take Thursday and Friday off anyway. So I don't think that really matters. But I definitely think the NCAA and the FCS, they want to keep that Monday night standalone game for sure.
Now, I think the bigger news is what the Oversight Committee also addressed in terms of playoff resumes. And I know you reported on this late in the week that they voted to amend the recommended policy language to allow the FCS Championship Committee to give more consideration to teams that have played all Division I opponents and or a greater number of Division I opponents. Specifically, it approved the following language, quote, "The committee will give more consideration to teams that have played all D1 opponents and or a greater number of Division I games." We have hammered on this since the 24 season. When South Dakota and South Dakota State both played non-D1s, that affected their seeding when we got to the tournament selection in November. It also now affects with the Ivy League coming into the postseason. I would imagine, Sam, they have to play more than 10. That's directed right at them.
Yeah, I think the playing non-D1 games, like they just don't help your resume at all. And there was kind of confusion because we used to call them non-counters, but technically that's not true because they still count as a so if you're 11-1, but you only have 10 D1 wins, the committee will look at you as an 11-1 team, but they'll also look at D1 wins. They'll compare your 10 D1 wins against a team that maybe has 11 D1 wins. So playing all Division Ones is important. And then especially too, the thing that caught my eye is the at-large selection. That criteria kind of emphasizing and prioritizing teams who have competed against at least 11 Division I opponents. And to me, that speaks right at the Ivy League.
Yes.
Because they start 3 weeks after everyone else, and they only play 10 games total. And I think I may have said it on your show in December. I kind of hinted at there might be the FCS commissioners might be pushing for something through the legislative process to kind of encourage the Ivy League to play at least one more game. Because how do you compare a 10-0 team versus a 12-0 team,
right.
Especially when it's 2 less games, 2 less opportunities, or 2 less chances for your players to get injured. Plus, the Ivy League doesn't schedule super tough out of conference as well. It's a lot of regional teams. Some CAA teams like Brown will play Rhode Island. That's a good one, but it's also a lot of Patriot League teams as well. And I know from what I've heard, there's been some top teams from some top conferences that have reached out to the Ivy League to try to schedule some home and homes. And so far that's been pretty challenging. And the Ivy League too is in a unique situation just academically where maybe it is tougher for them to start early on in the year. I'm not sure, but this definitely to me is telling the Ivy League like, hey, if you want another bid, if you want an at-large bid and a second team into the playoffs, that team is going to have to play 11 D1 opponents because a 9-1 team, like how do we stack that up against a 10-2 team, for example?
Well, they ran full tilt into that when Harvard and Yale played in the last week, and Harvard lost, and Harvard was in the top 8 all season long, that it would be hard for them to drop all the way out of the bracket to a team they lost to that won the auto bid. That would be hard to, and they only played 10 games. That was what the committee really struggled with.
Yeah, and I didn't really have a problem with Harvard getting in at the time because it was like, well, how do you leave them now? Especially because it seemed like they were going to be the favorite, and then Yale beat them to earn that auto bid. And yeah, it was a interesting debut year for the Ivy League because at the same time Harvard and Yale were getting boat raced, and it was like everyone was kind of piling on the Ivy League. But then Yale storms back and has that epic comeback against Youngstown State and wins, and then competes pretty well physically with Montana State. So I think overall, how Yale performed reflected pretty well on the Ivy League that said, okay, like for their debut year, they show they can compete. And it kind of, that overshadowed in a good way what Harvard did because, that was, a pretty rough performance that they had in the first round.
The 12-game deal of all D1s, South Dakota State still needs another opponent unless they already have it. Maybe they haven't announced it. That's the case. Then far be it. But you cannot schedule any non-D1s. You just can't do it. And if you do, then you deserve whatever happens seeding-wise. If you drop a game, then you should be in my mind, you should be penalized for that. I think we've talked about this plenty. I hope now with this language that the committee would follow through on that going forward.
Yeah, and this seems like this is coming from the FCS playoff committee to the oversight committee saying, hey, we want to move this, we want to move forward with this. And like, there is definitely an argument, like if South Dakota State beats Ferris State instead of beating Butler, like that's probably a better win strength wise, but the rules or the recommendations are the recommendations.
Right.
So, the playoff committee is going to value you beating Butler rather than the best team in D2. Because I remember Montana ran into that in 23, I believe, where they beat Ferris State, but not by a whole lot. Yep. But their argument was like, well, Ferris State is actually pretty good. And yeah, that's true. But just, based off of these recommendations and the rules, if you want to call it that, the non-D1 win doesn't count as much as a D1 win. So I know there are some teams in a tough spot because like Sacramento State scheduled like 5 FCS teams, and now they only have one of them on their schedule. Yeah. And same thing with NDSU. They dropped, a few FCS opponents, understandably so. So it does leave some teams in tough spots, but I still feel like there's enough wiggle room where you can, get some non-conference games on your schedule for a D1 opponent.
Last thing for you, email comes in. Dom, can you ask Sam to give us a lowdown on the Fordham Rams, since that's our FCS game for this upcoming year? They weren't good last year. I know that. I think they won 1 game, last season.
Yeah, they've been down the last couple of years, and they used to have a pretty good offense, CJ Montez. They also had another quarterback like a few years ago who put up really big numbers. He was in the Walter Payton Award discussion, and I think, Julius Lothridge came from Fordham. I believe he was South Dakota State's top running back. So they'll have, Fordham will have 3-4 players where you'll go, okay, those guys are good, but they're not going to have what it takes in the trenches. And NDSU learned that, okay, if an FBS team is going to play an FCS opponent, you should probably schedule a not very good one. NDSU, took that to heart and said, all right, let's get an FCS team on schedule, and let's not schedule whatever South Dakota State in a non-conference game. Let's go after a Patriot League team.
It certainly seems so. We had Todd Phelps on late last week, Sam, that the Montana State game is going to stay on the schedule. And obviously there's monetary benefits for both. It's over $1 million, and the Bison are going to take $1 million every time, considering what they have to pay. I am intrigued to see how that goes. I know it's a long way off, and it's not till September of 2027, but that's going to stay on the schedule, it sounds like.
Yeah, and I think that's good because it's an exciting, even though it is FCS versus FBS, it's still an exciting non-conference game. There's great monetary value for both teams, like $1.2 million, something like that, plus potentially some additional ticket revenue as well. Now, if this was hypothetically, if this was a start to a home and home where NDSU was hosting Montana State next year, I think NDSU would probably try to get out of that. Yes. But because this is, hey, we can get more than $1 million off of it. It's the destination game. I think it's good to keep it on the schedule. There is, Montana State's obviously very good. There's the risk of losing that game, or at least being in a competitive game against an FCS opponent. But I think overall, it's good that it stays on the schedule, and it should be a pretty exciting matchup.
Great stuff as always, bud. Hope you're digging out okay, and we'll talk next week. All right.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
There you go. Sam Herder joins us each and every Monday to get our week started with some good FCS chatter there. Don't play D2s. I've been saying that forever. I ran into some Jackrabbit fans when we were in Sioux Falls, and they were asking schedule stuff. Just don't do it. The Augustana game was great. Awesome. Great. I don't know how many more fans you got at Dana J. Dykehouse. You know what it also cost you? Cost you the 2 seed that year, because the Bison and Jacks finished with the same record, and they gave the Bison the nod because NDSU played 11 or whatever it was, 12 D1 games that year, and the Jackrabbits didn't. If you do not learn from history, what does they say? You're doomed to repeat it, right? Well, don't do that. Don't do it. That's all I can say. Let's break. We come back. We get some emails to get to. We'll wrap up our first hour here on a busy Overreaction Monday as the Bison have Michigan State in their sights for the NCAA tournament. Much more on Hot Mic after this. All right, wrapping up our first hour. Thanks to Sam Herder. Jeff Kolpack coming up around the bend. We got a bunch of emails here. This one came in. I promise this is not from a family member or anybody related to me. Labeled Tail of the Tape. Tom Izzo, 8 Final Fours, 1 national title, 11 Big Ten championships, 6 Big Ten tournament titles, 2-time Coach of the Year, 4-time Big Ten Coach of the Year. Dom Izzo, North Dakota Sportscaster of the Year 2019. Oswego County Fair 3rd place hot dog eating contest 2001. I can't verify that. Advantage, Dom Izzo. I appreciate that. The amount of times I have literally been asked if there is any relation, I could probably take the station out for a couple of dinners. It's been a lot. As far as I know, there are no blood relations. That'll be something we'll be working on this week to try to get the answer. Maybe we can figure that out. Like my family, my entire family is located in central New York, which Buffalo is western New York. There are different, I know for people out here, like New York is New York City, which I get it, but there's different parts of it, obviously, because we have mountains in the state. The Adirondack Mountains are on the eastern side. They go all the way up to Canada because we touch Canada, and Buffalo is right there. Buffalo and Niagara Falls is right. Our guy Phil Hansen can tell you all about it. Phil's legend there. I hope he goes. I saw Phil in Sioux Falls. Now he's got to put his money where his mouth, because he would get the royal treatment. Anytime he goes back there, he is treated as such. But that is the area. My family is in central New York, which is Syracuse, that area, down Little Falls way. Buffalo, Rochester, that's the western side of the state. That's where they're going to be at. Let's do one more before we go to break on the WBIT. Dom, I hope Bison fans understand the WBIT is superior to the WNIT. How many times do we have an opportunity to face Power 4 teams in Fargo? When are tickets going on sale? I believe tickets go on sale today, so once we find out a game time on that. It's a good point. The bracket is such, I mean, if the Bison got to win a couple games, but they could potentially have Kansas State come here or Georgia Tech if the Bison win. That's a big deal. It's not as big, obviously, as the NCAA tournament, which is what Jory Collins and his team was shooting for, but this is the next level. And frankly, it probably changes what their scheduling philosophy is maybe going forward. A conversation we'll likely have with the head coach later in the week. But we got a break. We'll start our second hour. We come back. Jeff Kolpack on the Bison men. We'll get some Bison women conversation in as well on them heading to the WBIT. That's coming up when we start our second hour. That's coming up after this.
This is Hot Mike. Hot Mike. On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo. It's that time. An author.
Offensive production, number 1. Number 2. Forgot.
Golfer.
It'd be like going on a 3-person best shot, and we were saying, Kolpack, you got to make a 25-footer every time. You wouldn't putt first. I'd have Tim putt first.
And one heck of a TV personality.
This game is for the Cooper Cup.
It's the Forum's Jeff Kolpack.
4! I should have yelled 2. There he is, everybody. Jeff Kolpack joins us each and every Monday. His appearances are brought to us by Northwestern Mutual, getting set for a trip to lovely Western New York. Huh?
It's a little close to your stomping grounds.
It is. It's not too far.
Yeah.
And you have you're running. You get away from me, and you have another Izzo waiting for you.
I cannot get away from you, Izzos. You guys haunt me.
We're everywhere.
You haunt me. You're everywhere. I woke up in the middle of the night and went, oh, Izzo. Oh, God.
You do me a favor and ask him about me when you bring that up at the press conference?
Yeah, that'll go over well. Yeah, sure. Boy.
So,
I can't believe he wouldn't know about you. I mean,
right?
you are Dom Izzo.
Hello.
Jesus.
So I'm on the air yesterday. We did our live hit at like 5:02, and I'm up there, thinking, well, the Bison could be, 13, 14, wherever seed, and then bam, it happened. Literally, the people just sat down, and NDSU found out they're going to be a 14 seed.
It happened as I was looking at the weather of San Diego.
That's why.
Tampa. Looking at the weather at Tampa.
That is karma paying you back there.
Well, looking forward to it. First order of business, I suppose, will be to check out the statue of Phil Hansen. It's got to be there somewhere.
Yes. So Orchard Park is not close to Buffalo. That's where the Bills play. That's a solid half hour west of Buffalo. But the new stadium is up, so if you want, you can go check that out.
Check that out.
Yeah. And We put the Google Maps up. Where you're at is right by the river. It's awesome. They had a whole new development down there.
I checked it out last night.
It'll be pretty cool for Bison fans to make the trip.
Actually doing the Google Maps, searching around with Google Earth, and it looks like they've done a nice job in sort of a downtown reno.
It is.
I would imagine.
It absolutely did, because in the, I would say, early 2000s, it was just the arena and there was nothing down there. Now there's actual things to do. Obviously, it's the home of the hockey team that the Sabres play there, but they've hosted regionals now, Kolpack. I want to say 4 or 5 times. The Jackrabbits went there, actually, in 2022.
Yeah, too bad Bobby Babbage still isn't with the Bills. I would have hit him up.
Absolutely.
For dinner or something.
So what do we make here? It's Michigan State. It's Tom Izzo. It's the Spartans.
Typical.
I mean, this is going to be a tough matchup for the Bison.
It's typical of what happens when you're a Summit team. And I thought maybe they'd sneak into a 13, but
things were trending that way with how the results
Yale
went,
lost,
right?
and Wes at NDSU SID thought that would help a 13 seed, but ultimately it's where they're at. 14. You're not 16. You're not in the first 4 in.
Correct.
So school record for wins just didn't have that. Why were they a 12 seed now? And I'm trying to think.
They
had
14. They beat Notre Dame. They beat Notre
Dame that year.
That was the big one. That was a quad one win.
So they had
year.
no wins like that this year.
No, they had nothing like that. Like the best would have been maybe UC Irvine, and then Irvine ended up missing the tournament because they lost in their championship game. That would have been probably their quote-unquote best win, because Southern Illinois didn't end up having a very good year. It was a nice win for the Bison, but the Drake didn't have a very good year. Those would have been better, but not. Both those teams really struggled in the Missouri Valley this season.
And a couple of tough losses to start the year. Oregon State was a winnable game.
UC Davis wasn't a very good loss, as it turned out. So, but be that as it may, and here's the big thing: the Summit wasn't very good either. You have to put it
men and women,
right?
Man, just
correct.
The
Which
bottom
we'll get to the Bison women
repercussion
of that, but I would say from 3 on down, the league was not very good this season. That didn't help the Bison out either, because they were rated. The Summit League was rated near the bottom of Division I leagues. That's where they're at. But be that as it may, now it's a Tom Izzo team that won, I think, 20. What did they win? 25 games this season. So they're nothing to. The one time I actually watched them play, they lost to the Gophers, which, granted, Minnesota beat a couple of really good teams this season.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance. I mean, it's March Madness. There's a chance. I saw Wisconsin couldn't throw the ball in the ocean in 2005 when the upset in Madison. It happens. It's basketball. If you have a bad shooting night and things change, it's like a hot goalie. It's opposite.
Right.
You have a hot goalie in hockey, you have a chance.
A chance to win.
In this kind of a matchup, if a team's cold, and the Bison play good defense.
I'll look back at all of their tournament games. Take the Duke game out, because Duke had 3 number 1 draft picks on it. Granted, the Bison hung around for the first half. But the Kansas game, in it the entire way. I mean, Woodside hit a late shot. It was a 3-point Kansas lead with 3 minutes to go. We were there that day. The Metrodome had 30,000 Bison fans. It was going crazy. Obviously, the Oklahoma game goes without saying. I mean, L.A. hits the late shot to go to overtime. The Bison win it. San Diego State, I thought they were out-athleted that game. San Diego State was not going to lose that game.
They were long and lean.
Right.
Oh, my goodness.
Right. But the Gonzaga game, Dexter Werner goes crazy, to your point.
And they were in that for a while.
In that game with 5 minutes to go, and they were a 15 that year when they played Gonzaga.
I feel like Gonzaga had that point guard who hit a couple big shots late.
Kyle Wilcher, I believe his name was.
He hit a couple big shots that were not easy.
Yep.
Those don't go in. You never know.
Yep.
Again, it happens. It happens this time of year.
That's the thing. For the Bison, though, to win this game, they're going to need
everything to go their way.
Everything.
Absolutely.
They're going to need Travion Carson to play. Frankly, I didn't think in the games in Sioux Falls, we talked about it last Monday, I don't think they shot the ball very well at all in the 3 games in Sioux Falls.
I think Tay Smith's going to have to come off the bench and hit like 6 3-pointers.
Maybe.
Somebody like that to get hot. Somebody just to go off on a team and start a run
And the big guys are going to have to play outstanding.
Out-rebound.
I mean, Trayson Anderson and Noah Federson are going to have big games in this.
Rebounds will kill you against these teams.
Yes. I mean, Jeremy Fears speaks for himself. He averages 16 a game. Jackson Kohler averages 9 rebounds a game. I mean, this is there's one thing you know about Michigan State. They are tough.
Yeah.
That's the one thing you know about them.
But they lost their first game in the Big Ten tournament. They're coming off a loss. So I don't know. I've seen, again, NDSU beat Marquette. They beat Wisconsin. They beat Notre Dame. They have had this in their resume over the years. They beat Oklahoma.
It's 16.5-point underdog right now.
Yeah,
That's what FanDuel's got the early line set as for the Bison in Michigan State.
Yeah, it's the old Dumb and Dumber, though. I mean, you're saying there's a chance. Of course there is.
What do we think for turnout? This is really tough for people to turn around and get to Buffalo, New York on a Thursday.
Yeah, people living in the area, are there Izzos coming?
There might be.
Yeah.
There might. I've tried to twist some arms out there. I know there'll be some people that know me, that know the Bison, that are going to go to the game. I know that on Thursday, so that's pretty cool. But it's a tough deal. This is the first time that they've gone east. Every time they've gone to the state of Washington. The only other time they didn't was South Carolina. They went to the South when they played Duke that year.
Yeah, even if you're a few students who are thinking to make a huge road trip, I mean, that's a long drive.
I did it. My dad and I did it.
Yeah.
So it's without stopping. It was a full day. It was a good 24-hour. And we stopped.
You have
to
to go
get
around
gas.
Chicago.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now you could go a different way.
You go to the UP.
You could go that way.
Yep.
That way and around.
Come back through Canada.
I don't know how much that takes. It might take a little bit off the trip because Dad and I went. I was just straight west through Buffalo, Cleveland. And then around Chicago and then up. We unfortunately went to Milwaukee and over. Didn't go Madison and over to get here. So it's a poke. Let's just say that if you're going to get there. I thought yesterday it wasn't a big crowd, but it certainly was an enthusiastic one to soak that in. The first time they've done that in 7 years, and that was a neat experience yesterday.
So before that starts, everybody, can you please move over?
Get on
looks
camera.
Better.
Yeah.
It really reminded me of. Remember, were you there in the 2000 Women's Elite Eight?
I was not.
And it was in Arkansas.
You and Stace have told me the story.
Yeah, it was in
yes.
Arkansas. And so this is during the game. They had everybody in the arena in Pine Bluff, Arkansas go, excuse me, can we all please move behind the announcers?
Because there was nothing on the shot,
There was
right?
nothing there.
It was action.
Behind the play-by-play and color analyst. It was hilarious.
I don't think they have to worry about that. Well, the intriguing thing in that region, Michigan and Michigan State are both in the Buffalo region. So they'll be, that's not that far either for those fan
two.
bases.
Yeah,
No, to get
that's
there.
nothing for them.
Louisville is there as well. South Florida is the
A
other
lot of people are
matchup
saying
there.
South Florida has a good chance at beating Louisville.
Well, that 6-11 game, which is that's in the same bracket with the Bison, that's an upset trendy pick if you wanted to go. I couldn't tell you. I'm not a great South Florida basketball mind, so I'm not even going to pretend on that. 14 seed is again right in that Summit wheelhouse. The highest it's been is 12. The Bison have been there. The Jackrabbits, Oral Roberts. The Bison were a 14 when they played Kansas in 2009. So this is pretty much the territory. If you're the Summit League champ, this is where you get seeded.
Yep, and again, like you're saying, the strength of the league is where it is, and you got to go.
Have you noticed? Is there an uptick in people interested, either analytics-wise, from story-wise, or just word of mouth about now the Bison are going to the NCAA basketball tournament?
Oh,
because I have a counterpoint to that.
Why is that?
Because it's still when people ask me about Pro Day the last few days, because that's on Thursday as well, and that's I can't or the Mountain West, one or the other, and that's the constant battle. This is the biggest thing in college sports is the NCAA basketball tournament. Everybody will do a bracket, Kolpack. Everybody, and they'll pick. Maybe some will pick NDSU, and yet
as they're filling out the bracket, they're going, "When's Pro Day again?"
And who's going to be the left guard this year, and who's going to be the backup center, and invariably.
Is Toby Anene's brother going to start at right tackle?
I would guarantee if you run any Bison fans when you're in Buffalo, they're going to ask you about football, invariably. Yeah. And that's the way, good, bad, or indifferent, but I hope there is some juice to this as the week goes on. Richmond's going to do a couple of national interviews, and that'll be they've got Brian Anderson. That's Bunnell's guy who calls the Brewers games. He's a really good play-by-play guy. They're gonna be on TNT. It's not True TV they're playing on Thursday.
Should I ask Tom Izzo? What about football? What if the Bison or the Spartans were playing in football, Tom?
Michigan State has been. When's the last time Michigan State's been
terrible.
good at football?
Awful.
It's been a little bit. Now Pat Fitzgerald is the head coach now at Michigan State, so maybe they can schedule them. Right?
I'll look into it.
You do that?
I will.
You lay the skids on that one. Let's break. We come back. We'll chat on the Bison women getting left out at 28-4. Got a few emails on that, and we'll chat some Pro Day as well with Kolpack. We wrap up first half of our first segment of Hour 2. Back after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. Darin Mattern joining us from Bismarck Century, about 15 minutes. Chat about the Patriots going back to back. We went to break, became official. For those wondering, the Bison women will play Thursday night at 7 at the Shield Center against Chattanooga in the first round of the WBIT. That became official, Kolpack. So the Bison were one of the first 4 out. They finished 28-4. The 2 losses, obviously, to South Dakota State. The one that hurt them the most was the game here. If they win that game at the Shack, I firmly believe they make the tournament. I do.
Yes.
I think they make the tournament. They have a quad 1 win that even if they lost the Summer League Championship game, I think they would have been in.
Yeah, even though one of the first 4 out, you felt like it was a distant.
Still was a long shot, I thought.
First 4 out.
I did. I thought.
And when the head coach kind of hints at that,
Right.
you know that it's probably.
Maybe it was closer than we thought. I don't know. I mean, they were either team 69, 70, 71, or 72 that missed out on the field. But now they're in the WBIT and got a couple of smart aleck emails here. This is pretty good. Dom, I see the NDSU women's basketball team is hosting a first-round game. For their sake, I hope that's not too long of a drive for Bison basketball fans to make.
Ooh.
We'll see. I mean,
They've been drawn pretty well,
I would hope
Yeah.
so. I mean, what did we see last year at the WNIT, man? Those crowds.
It was loud.
Each progressive round
It
that
was
they
loud,
won got
right.
better. And the Bison will host if they keep winning. They have the potential to play 3 games at the Shield Center if they win.
And I feel like first you need to educate some of the fan base on the WBIT is better
yes.
than the WNIT.
Well, here's an email. Dom, looking at this bracket, are there any at-large teams that you believe the Bison women are clearly better than? I know they don't put together the basketball bracket the same way they do FCS football, but I still hope they get it as close to the best possible teams in the playoff as possible. I don't think there was anybody that said we're opting out and not participating in it. I mean, there's at least half of these teams are Power 4 teams that are in this tournament. I mean, you wrote about it. Kansas is in it. K-State's in it. Georgia Tech, Miami. I mean, these are well-known teams that are in the tournament.
And it's an NCAA-sponsored tourney,
Right.
so NDSU doesn't have to pay
a dime.
Yes.
Nothing. That everything is, and that's also different than the WNIT. They had to pay for everything on that. That's a football question. Here's a basketball one. Dom or Jeff, know why the 11 seeds are in the first 4 and not the 15 seeds. So how that works is the 16 seeds, the last 2 16 seeds go to Dayton. The Bison did that. And then the last 2 11 seeds go to Dayton as well.
to make for a more fair matchup for the 11 seeds.
And that's the last year they're going to do it, because next year, Jeffrey, they're going to 76, and then it's going to be even different. And for those wondering, well, would the Bison women have got in had it been 76 this year? I
Yes.
think the answer is yes.
Absolutely.
Now seeing what would have come out of that, granted it's day late and a dollar short on that, but they would have gotten in. Let's do one more here. Looking at this, I hope fans understand this to your point. The WBIT is superior to the WNIT. How many times do we have an opportunity to place Power 4 teams in Fargo? When are tickets going on sale? I believe they're on sale now after the announcement just went out.
Yep.
So $17. That's not bad.
Yeah.
It's better than some nights.
And
so.
I think does the NCAA set the prices, or is NDSU?
Correct. Yes, that's that. I know. Here's the rub. The NDSU doesn't make anything money on this. All that goes to the NCAA in terms of ticket revenue on this tournament, because that's the way it's going to be. TV coverage, we're still working out. We will let you know as soon as we know on that. But I will say, and this is something I visited with Matt Larson about yesterday, that it will probably force Jory Collins and the Bison women to change their non-conference schedule thinking going forward, that they're going to have to play a couple of those Power 4 teams
with the point
forward.
being that, like, South Dakota State had a couple of losses to some
did.
Power 4.
Yep.
That probably hurts you less than beating some dog.
Correct. Playing Bethune-Cookman and winning by 50 doesn't help you as much as losing maybe to
Texas.
South
Dakota State played Texas
correct.
at home.
Now the Jacks and they've routinely, AJ's done that forever, has routinely scheduled those games, and it bore out because the Jacks got an 11 seed. Frankly, SDSU's draw is not too bad for them to maybe do some
Washington?
damage. Correct.
Yeah. They could win that game.
And then if they win that, they likely play TCU, which they've already beaten TCU before. So there's an opportunity for them to make
Huskies
a run there.
Huskies are going to regret not offering Brooklyn Meyer like $800,000.
I think a lot of teams probably regret doing that. Here, right up your alley, Jeffrey. Here's one on football. What does the football team officially go to 85 scholarships? Will they be adding and or cutting players? I know they're no longer allowed to give partial scholarships.
Yeah, I believe they're probably there now.
Yes.
Or at least certainly in the planning stages of doing it.
The partial thing, we need to address that as well, because that is but they can still do what's called equivalencies. So they don't have to necessarily give everybody the same amount. It's not a full ride for everybody. Like, I can give Kolpack $60,000 and I can get $20,000. That's how it works under the House settlement now going forward. It's really in the weeds, but
are there any rules now? I mean, you can go up to 105.
You could absolutely
because
you opted into the settlement,
and that is the roster cap eventually here. I believe it's graduated, but you can go up to 105.
Yes.
Which there's no reason to, because
and nobody's doing that.
Why,
by the way,
why would you give the 103rd guy in your roster a full boat? Not going to play anyway.
The SEC is not even doing that.
Earn it in the weight room or develop or whatever.
Yeah, the SEC is not, and the Big Ten aren't even going to that. Most actually have stated 85 that they're going to fund that, and then the rest are going to be walk-ons in the traditional sense and maybe earning your way on. But I appreciate that email because we've got a bunch of those going forward. All right, let's get back to some hoops conversation here. So it is Michigan State. We mentioned 3 o'clock on Thursday. You're going. McFeely's going, Dave Sampson's going, Riley Swenson from our station's going. It's going to be a big deal. That's awesome.
You know, Sammy, as a photographer who is big time,
Sammy's photos are the best.
How many big events has he snapped through his eye?
Too many to count. Yeah. I have two of my favorite photos of his are in my house.
Every FCS title.
Yep.
NCAA tournament. Men and women.
In my office right now, I have one of his.
Not women's. Division II, I bet.
Yep. Carson Wentz diving touchdown against Jacksonville State.
He caught it.
He got that.
He just catches the moments.
Yep, absolutely. Has he shot a game in the NCAA tournament before? I don't know if he's gone. So this might be his first time. Maybe he went to. He may have went to the Metrodome. I have to ask him on that. He might have been down to the Dome. But that was a unique situation where.
Wasn't he in Seattle too?
I don't know. I'm not sure on that one, but. This is going to be something else. And middle of the day. So the Bison have played late at night. They played the Kansas game, I think was remember that was 11:30 in the morning. This is going to be square in the middle of the day.
I think if they had their druthers, they'd want to play early as possible.
Yeah.
That's kind of when upsets can happen.
Sleeping.
Absolutely. Just like they caught Wisconsin sleeping, and
it was
that was 11 a.m. start.
Tip there, too. Absolutely right. I'm really intrigued to see how this plays out. Quick start is always, the name of the game, and hopping on them. They're going to go out there and see what happens. And I will tell you this, however it comes out, Jeff, there's going to be movement when the season is done. And that, again, people have to get used to. Dave's team, no matter what they won 27 games, half of this team is going to be gone next season. Regardless.
More. I would say more.
More than half?
Yes.
It was 9 last year. See, I set the under-over 7. I was going to say
there's something about an NCAA
7.
tournament team that just makes you more marketable as a player, I think.
How about is David back? He has 1 year left on his deal.
I've thought about that.
Okay, what do you think?
Well, because if he's going to move.
Now's the time?
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought that
I don't know how much more marketable he can be at this point.
NCAA champion or NCAA tournament team, Summit League champion, 27 wins.
If 72-year-old Bob Huggins is being targeted by Syracuse.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
I think it's Syracuse, somebody like that.
Gosh.
Oh, my
Syracuse. Gosh. What are they doing?
So, this is all great. The NCAA tournament, WBIT, spring ball, pro day. You're missing the big news of the week.
Give it to me.
The golf show's starting this week. The award-winning golf show.
Yes, you did. Congratulations, by the way, on your Severide Award that you won. That's big-time stuff.
I don't think that's supposed to be public.
Are they going to take it away? I got one back here. They're not going to take it away from last year.
Oh, you're not the only one with one of these there, buddy boy.
So what do you got? What do you got coming up here on the first one?
Well,
we're at 50-degree weather.
A tradition unlike any other. Greg McCullough, as usual, my first guest, 23rd year of the golf radio show.
That's fantastic.
Saturday mornings.
So you got a busy week. You got a lot to get to here over the next few days.
Grizzly veteran, Dom. I can handle it.
All right. What's your prediction on Thursday then?
Oh, it's tough. I think NDSU could maybe hang tough just because I think they play good defense, but pretty hard to pick against a 14 seed and a Tom Izzo.
Yes.
Izzo. Never doubt an Izzo.
Nope.
Never go against an Izzo.
You heard it. It's in the open. We have that every day. The anchor bar is okay. That's the origination
What is
of
that?
that's the origination of the buffalo wing.
Oh,
It's
heard about
okay.
that.
I think it's overrated. There are about 4 other stops to hit, though. If you're going to go and actually do the chicken wing,
How would you know
properly-
about bar stops in Buffalo?
I've been to a few. Well, I've been to a few with my buddies. I will say that,
Okay.
but also was for more eating purposes than anything.
All right.
So there are crawls that people go on to do the Buffalo Wing tour in Buffalo. So that is. You'll see it when you've never been, correct?
No.
It has a Midwestern city vibe to it. It
I've
really
been to Niagara
does.
Falls.
Niagara Falls is right it's
Yeah.
right there. It's a half hour away, which there's 2 of them. There's the Niagara Falls on the U.S. side and the Niagara Falls on the Canadian side. The Canadian side is better because that's where the Maid of the Mist and all that, where you actually go onto the falls and stuff.
You're such a New York geek.
I'm just telling you. I grew up there, man. That's not too far from where I live.
I hope your
so.
dad comes up. I'd like to see
I
Mr.
talked to him
Izzo.
yesterday, so he was interested. He's already, speaking of the Bison, we didn't even get to the Bison football schedule. You'll see him in Vegas.
Oh,
he's doing
nice.
the Vegas trip, so he's very excited about it. Because the NASCAR race apparently is the week prior, so I think he's staying the week.
Good for him.
Well, he can get comped. He's that kind of a deal. He's got kind of a big deal out in Vegas. So great stuff as always, bud. Safe travels this
Have a
week,
good
all
week,
right?
Dom. Yeah.
There he goes. Jeff Kolpack joins us each and every Monday at 10 o'clock. We'll break. We come back. We'll salute the champs out in Century. Darin Mattern will join us after a second straight AA championship for the Patriots. That's coming up when we come back.
I saw Darin Mattern.
How's that? Can you hear me, Dom?
Got you good, bud. Welcome back, everybody, to Hot Mike here on this Monday morning. You know, they say the hardest thing to do in sports is to win when everybody expects you to. After this time last year, Bismarck Century won the boys AA championship. Like, well, they got almost everybody back. They should be pretty darn good. And here we are sitting on the Monday after the AA, and they won it again. As there he is, Darin Mattern joins us, head coach of the Century boys, 2-time back-to-back champions, now 4-time overall state champion head coach. Congratulations, bud. How are you doing? How are you feeling today?
I appreciate it, Dom. Thanks for having me on, and I really appreciate your show. I watch it daily, and by the way, before we go any further, I just wanted to wish you a belated happy birthday.
Oh, thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Hope you had a good day.
You had a great one. I saw you smile. You must have enjoyed it on Saturday night. You were cracking a smile when the game was finally decided.
Well, it's something I'm getting better at. I think the older you get, I think the more you appreciate, just being around the kids and things like that. But no, obviously it was a special night and with a special group of kids, so it's pretty rewarding as a coach.
You know, I started the conversation with everybody thought, hey, Century's going to be the team to beat. Describe that, playing with really lofty expectations this year.
Yeah, obviously coming off a championship season last year, and we had a core group of kids back from that team. I tell people all the time, Don, last year it was kind of smooth sailing. When I say smooth sailing, that means we stayed injury free. We didn't have any team sickness. It seems like every year you're going to get to tournament time, you're going to have one kid sick with the flu or 2 kids sick with the flu. And quite honestly, last year we didn't have to deal with any of that. We could just play basketball. And as a coach, when you can just get your team organized and ready just to play basketball, it's a little easier. And then coming into this year, through 8 games, I thought it was going obviously pretty well. And then Camden Kramer goes down with a broken leg, and it kind of changes your team. And so we did battle a lot of adversity all the way through the state tournament. And, I just really admire this group for being able to fight through that and overcome a lot of obstacles to get to the finish line. And when I think back, I'll just tell you a quick story here, Dom. Monday's practice, state tournament week, Trayton and I look over on the side, and we've got Nispley in the sling. We've got Camden Kramer not practicing, coming off a broken leg. And then we've got Kinnebrew ailing with a back and a wrist. So we're looking at each other like, well, there's 60 points down over there, and we got a game in a couple of days. We got to get a few things figured out here.
Tell me about, I know Sam and Zach were talking about in the broadcast about Camden Kramer on Saturday night. When did you find out he could come back and play? And were you stunned that he could come back after a broken leg and play?
Yeah, it was, I think it was kind of up in the air for a long time. It was just kind of a day-by-day process. We were thinking 8 weeks. Our target date was really the WDA tournament. And so he didn't really do anything. We got him in the pool. He did all his rehab. So we kind of controlled what we could control. And the first game of the WDA was his first action. And, he really struggled just moving the first and second round. And I think he gained more confidence as the tournament went on. And then the 3-4 days of rest before the state tournament were huge for him. And then the first game he played in the state tournament, I thought he moved pretty well. And then coming back in the semis, I thought he was pretty sore. And then again, you're thinking as a coach, we want to try to limit his minutes so we can get as much out of him as possible down the road. And then the state championship game, we kind of extended it a little bit more. And obviously he made some big plays for us in that particular game. But he's just a very special kid, high character, good student. And, we were just happy that he was able to finish his career on a positive note.
That's a remarkable story there. I had Garrett Nisley on when he committed last summer. Dragon fans are going to get a chance to see him up close. You've got a chance to coach him over the last few years. What kind of player is coming to MSU Moorhead next year?
Well, I think Garrett is a kid that just loves to play. And he comes from a big basketball family, obviously, as you know, Dom, with Logan at Nebraska and both of his parents being college athletes as well. So the kid loves to play. And I think he's going to be a kid that's going to I think he's still growing. And he's going to mature and get stronger. So I think he's built for the next level. It just amazes me how he got through the tournament because he basically played the entire state tournament with one arm, and he just kind of figured out a way to get to one side of his body to make a play. And I specifically remember one play where he went in for a left-handed layup, and the ball just kind of went bouncing away, and that was really the only time I think all tournament he used that side of his body. So. It was just amazing situation that he was able to get through, and we're hoping he can get that shoulder fixed and get healed up. And I think Moorhead State's getting a special kid.
Give us the lowdown on Gibson Kinnebrew, because I think his stock only went up, and recruiting is going to be awfully interesting, I think, over the next few months, right?
Yeah, Gibby's just another special kid, and very humble, and accepts coaching to another level, and just the ultimate team player. And anytime you have a kid like that, it's just special. And Gibby puts the time in. He's a hard worker, and he just loves to play basketball. And he's a great teammate. So he does all the things that you want as a coach. And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I know he'll go back to work. He'll be in the weight room. He'll work on his skills, and it'll be interesting. He just continues to get better, and I think his best basketball is still ahead of him.
This is the second time you've beaten Bismarck in the championship game. That make it even a little more sweeter?
Yeah, I guess I never even thought about that, Dom. I guess you just take them. When you get to that game, it's a special opportunity, and as you know, being around sports your entire life, it's just very difficult to get there. So regardless of the opponent, obviously I have a lot of respect for their program, having been over there for 14 years as an assistant with Coach Miller, just a lot of ties with the program. So I know how special the program is over at Bismarck High, but I don't necessarily look at it as beating Bismarck High. I just think being able to get to the finish line and be the last team standing is just special in general. So, again, it's just an unbelievable experience for these kids.
Well, how about this? The first time you won it in Bismarck. The other times you won it out here.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about that. I was like, is this a jinx or what's going on here? No, we've had pretty good success in Fargo. We won three out of our 4 out there, and I think the 2 that we lost were in Bismarck. So no, it was special. It was just a special night, and for the people in Bismarck to come out and support the game, and just a tremendous atmosphere, and obviously it was just a very highly competitive game, very entertaining, and I thought both teams played really, really hard, and I've been on both sides of the fence, and it was just one of those nights we just happened to make a few more plays than they did.
All right, now to the part that I know you're going to be uncomfortable talking about, but this is pretty cool stuff. You have now won 4 titles. Your brother Troy has won 4. So now it's even up, right? We can have some actual fights and Thanksgiving and stuff.
Well, I'm just kind of used to living under the shadow of my younger brother. So, but no, it's. In coaching, Dom, as you know, it's just rewarding to be able to spend your time with kids and try to make an impact on their lives. And if you have success along the way, I guess I look at that as a bonus. And I think Troy would say the same thing. And to have success, you got to have a lot of support. And I've always had a lot of support at my time at Century. Not only with having very, very good players, I've had parental support and administrative support. Steve Madler, our head principal, is awesome. And my 2 athletic directors, Dave Zittelman and Ben Lervick, have been just tremendous over my years here at Century High School. So it takes an entire team to have success. And I know Troy would say the same thing, but I think a few years down the road when we look back and we're able to kind of visit and share stories and just kind of cherish the times we've had as coaches, I think it's pretty special that him and I have both been able to do this for an extended period of time.
All right, now here's the real question. Who would be better coaching the other sport? Will you be a good football coach, or how would he be as a basketball coach?
You know what, Dom, I've always wanted to be a football coach because, when you think about the WDA and the state tournament, I always give these football coaches a bad time. Let's just use the state tournament, for example. You play Horace and very good team, and you get through the game and you're like, we got to play in less than 24 hours. And these football guys got a week to get ready, and then you get to West Fargo, and it's just a game that could go either way, one possession here, one possession there. And then you think to yourself, you're driving home, well, we got to start over again, and we get the luxury of playing Bismarck High. So, no, I've always joked with Troy about they get a week of prep, we get about 10 hours to get ready. But I would probably say Troy would be a lot better coaching basketball than I would be football because I don't know a lot about football other than you put 11 guys out there, but that's pretty much the extent of it.
Well, you wouldn't know what to do with yourself now, right? I mean, if after a full night of prep, you're like, okay, we still have 6 days for the game is what it sounds like.
Yeah, I tell Mark Gibson and Troy all the time. I'm like, I mean, how many days do you need to prepare for those 4 or 5 plays the other team's going to run?
Last thing before we go, I don't want to be somber, but obviously I know your mom recently passed. Tell me just to have those emotions and then what happens Saturday. How do you wrap your mind around what's the last few weeks have been like for your family?
Well, it's been incredible, Dom, and you got to have a good support system, obviously, to get through something like this. And my siblings have been tremendous, and obviously my dad, just being around them for 4 or 5 days. But no question, it was a challenging time in my life, dealing with that. And then obviously tournament time as a whole is just stressful in general. But, I'm going to take some time to step back and think about some things. And it'll just be nice to have some time to myself.
No doubt about that. And you mentioned it earlier, you had with Trayton there as well. How cool was that?
Yeah, what a great sounding board. And, it's just nice to have him, beside me because he understands our system and he's been through the ups and downs of being an athlete himself. And I was joking with my wife, it was it's just sometimes it feels like we're just having a conversation on the bench, like we're at the kitchen table. And then I look up and there's a game going on. I'm like, we got to get some things figured out here. But it's just a comfort level for me knowing that he's there, and I can bounce ideas off him, and he's just got a great perspective and a great feel for what we're trying to accomplish as a team. And his rapport from with the kids is second to none, and obviously that helps a great deal. But no, it's just been a very, very special experience. And I think it's something I'm going to look back for many, many years and be able to talk about that, sharing that time together.
It's great to catch up, bud. Congratulations on the championship. Go put your feet up, relax a little bit. I know you won't do that, but try and relax a little bit. And thanks for giving us a few minutes this morning.
I appreciate it, Dom. And one other thing I got, Don, before I go, I would like to just wish Coach Richmond and his staff the best of luck. I guess it would be this week.
Yeah.
Against Michigan State. Obviously, that's going to be awesome. An awesome experience for his program, and I'm sure everybody in North Dakota is going to be watching, and I can't wait for that day. So, again, good luck to him and his coaching staff, and we'll be pulling for him.
Thanks, Darin. Good to see you, bud. Appreciate it.
Okay, Dom. Take care of yourself.
There he goes. Darin Mattern, head coach, now 4-time state champion head coach after Century goes back-to-back with a win over Bismarck. He and Troy now even up at 4, so the next one has bragging rights, whoever gets it. We'll take our final break. We come back. We'll put a bow on things, get you ready for a busy Sports Monday. Hot Mike on an Overreaction Monday. We'll wrap right after this. All right, wrapping things up here on a busy Monday. Tomorrow, a lot to get through there. I believe we're going to visit with Justin Wick, Duluth men's basketball coach, as they go for the Elite Eight in Division II. I know the Bison are traveling tomorrow. I'll check David's schedule. If he can make it work, we'll do it. If not, we'll pivot on that. But that's coming up on tomorrow's show. I don't know. This is not worthy of the breaking news sounder, but the Justin Fields era with the New York Jets is over. The Jets have traded Justin Fields to the Chiefs. The Jets get a 6th-round pick back for next year, 2027. The Jets take on $19 million of dead cap per the trade, including $7 million of guaranteed salary. The move frees up $4 million of cap space while they pick up a late-round pick in lieu of an outright release. Who is the Chiefs' backup? Did they not? Is Minshew not? Well, I don't know what Kansas City did there.
Well, Minshew tore his ACL, remember?
Right, well, so did Mahomes. So, like, who's the backup with the...
Wasn't it, like, Chris Odokin, I think?
Well, he was, but I didn't know if Kansas City signed anybody when free agency started.
I don't think they signed anybody.
So Justin Fields is going to be the guy.
Yep.
How'd the Justin Fields era work out for the Jets? Week 1 against the Steelers was great. After that, not so great. The Jets eventually benched him by week 11 or 12. It was not it. I was never on board, and it didn't work out there. Also, earlier today, the NBA announced that they are moving forward with a likely vote on expanding to Las Vegas and Seattle for the 2028-29 season, according to Shams Charania from ESPN, that they'll hold a Board of Governors vote later this month to maybe get the Supersonics back. Can we do that? Now, Seattle took its franchise to Oklahoma City. I don't know if they took the Sonics name with them. If we can get the Sonics back, that'd be great. Now, if that's the case, the next thing they do when they approve Seattle and Vegas is move the Timberwolves to the Eastern Conference. Do it now. You put Memphis and New Orleans are in the West, but the Wolves should be with the Bucks and the Bulls and the Pacers. Make that happen and do it tomorrow. But it looks like Seattle and Vegas are coming to the NBA. Let's do some What to Watch before we get out of here. What to Watch brought to us by our Northwestern Mutual friends. All right, World Baseball Classic semis tonight. Italy and Venezuela on FS1 at 7 o'clock. The winner plays the United States tomorrow night for the championship. Lakers and the Rockets, two teams now ahead of the Timberwolves, 8:30 tonight on Peacock. And yes, we are just a few days out from opening day. Corey Provis will be back with us this year. The Twins of the Pirates coming up at noon on Twins TV. Our thanks to Darin Mattern, to Jeff Kolpack, and Sam Herder. If you missed any of the show, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. You watch a full replay on WDAY+. Thanks so much for starting your Monday with us, everybody. Championship in Bismarck. Congratulations to them and to Minot. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. Have a great Monday. See you back here tomorrow.